We've all been there. Something unexpected happens and we automatically react without thinking. We might say or do something we later regret. This is because our first instinct is to react to the event, instead of taking a step back and responding thoughtfully. The difference between responding and reacting may seem small, but is actually very important. When we react to something, we are acting in the moment without thinking about the consequences. It's that knee-jerk reaction that can often get us in trouble. On the other hand, responding means taking the time to think about what happened and how we want to respond. It's making a conscious decision instead of just acting on instinct, thinking about our actions and their potential outcomes before deciding on how to act. In this video, we'll explore the difference between responding and reacting and why it matters. We'll also learn some strategies for how to respond instead of reacting in difficult situations. Hi, I'm Felipe from Mind Owl. Here we talk about how meditation, philosophy, and psychology can help you live a happier and more peaceful life. Why do we react? Reactions generally happen without any conscious thought or consideration, which is why they can often be negative or unhelpful. Reacting usually occurs when we feel threatened in some way, and it's our natural instinct to protect ourselves. This might happen when we are feeling stressed, anxious, or angry. So when we react, we are not interacting with the situation in a constructive way. We instead are just trying to survive. When we touch a hot stove by accident, we quickly pull away without thinking. That's a reaction. It's perfectly normal and helpful to have this kind of reaction in certain situations. Without it, we would get hurt. It's just our natural instinct, our nervous system's way of protecting us. We may also react out of habit. If we always reacted in a certain way to a particular event, it can be difficult to break that pattern. For example, if in the past we experienced an emergency situation that caused anxiety or fear, let's say we were a child riding our bike to a friend's place and we fell off and broke our arm, it will cause us to develop an emotional response to similar situations. What will happen next is that our brain will store that painful memory in an attempt to avoid future injury, causing us to associate riding a bike with pain and danger. The result is that we might feel apprehensive when it comes to getting back on our bikes. Logically, we know that this isn't rational. After all, we can take precautions to avoid getting hurt, like wearing a helmet. But our emotional reaction is so strong that it overrides our logic. So reactions can be caused by our natural instincts to protect ourselves or by learned emotional responses that may not be rational. Either way, reactions generally happen without conscious thought or consideration. What does it mean to respond to an event? To respond, on the other hand, is to take the time to think about what happened and how we want to respond. It's making a conscious decision instead of just acting on instinct and letting our emotions dictate our actions. To respond, we must stop, observe, and become aware of our reaction and communication style. Then we can use a more rational mindset to determine the best way to advance in any given situation, conflict, or task. Responding doesn't mean suppressing emotions like anxiety or anger or believing that they won't occur. Going back to our previous example, it's still possible that we'll feel a sense of dread, trepidation, and anxiety if we are invited for a bike ride. However, with the tools to respond, we can manage and soothe these emotions instead of being overwhelmed by them. Internal reactions that we've been pre-programmed to fear doesn't just disappear because we want it to. It's quite the opposite. The more we try to suppress these emotions, the stronger they become. The goal is not to get rid of our emotional reactions, or we would stop being human. The goal is to learn how to respond instead of reacting, even in the most challenging situations. And that's where the challenge lies. Okay, so you should now have an idea of the difference between reacting and responding. Let's move on to explore some strategies to help you respond instead of reacting in difficult situations. How can we respond instead of reacting? The first step is to become aware of our reactions. We need to be able to observe ourselves carefully and observe our thoughts and emotions without judgment. Notice what is going on inside of you. Ask yourself, what does anger feel like in my body? What thoughts go through my mind when I'm feeling anxious? Where do I feel it in my body? This is where a practice like mindfulness can be really helpful. The second step is to take a step back from the situation. This can be literal, like taking a few steps back from the person we are talking to, or going for a walk, or figurative, like taking a few deep breaths or counting to 10 before responding. This step is about giving ourselves time and space to think about how we want to respond. The third step is to choose a response that is aligned with our values. This is where we need to think about what we want to achieve in the situation. What is the best possible outcome? What are our goals? How can we respond in a way that is consistent with our values? Or how would you respond if you weren't feeling emotional about the situation? It's good to have a framework you can follow. You can develop your own strategy, but I'll suggest one that someone once taught me, the 4 Ps. The first P is to pause. When you notice that you are about to react, take a step back, both physically and emotionally. This will help to prevent you from acting on impulse and allow you to think more clearly about the situation. The second P is process what is happening. Once you've paused, take a few deep breaths and try to understand what is going on. What are you feeling? What needs are not being met? What are the facts about the situation? The third P is plan your response. Now that you have a better understanding of the situation, you can respond in a way that is more likely to achieve the outcome you want. And finally, the fourth P, proceed with caution. Even after you planned your response, it's important to proceed with caution. This means being aware of the possible risks and consequences of your actions, and making sure that you are still acting in alignment with your values. Remember, the goal is not to get rid of our emotional reactions. The goal is to learn how to respond instead of reacting, always trying to act in ways that are aligned with our values, even when it's hard, and this will help us to achieve the best possible outcome in our lives. Remember the 4 Ps: pause, process, plan, and proceed with caution. And with practice, you'll be able to respond instead of reacting, even in the most difficult situations. Now let me ask you, did you know the difference between responding and reacting before watching this video? Do you think you'll be able to use these strategies in your own life? I would love to hear from you in the comments below. If you found this video helpful, please share it with your friends and family. Also, don't forget to subscribe to our channel and check the suggested videos for more great content on meditation, psychology, and how to live a more fulfilling life. Thanks for watching. I will see you in the next video. Bye for now.